I am joined by Clash of Clans community manager Ferri to discuss the future of the game in 2025. Ferri, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes, well, I wanted to basically just have a general conversation here about a little bit of 2024, but what we can expect moving into 2025. We've seen a lot of changes to the game last year. Equipment, events, collaborations. Can we expect new surprises in 2025, or is it going to be much of the same?
Definitely 100% not much of the same. I can tell you that. We are going to do a lot of different things, but we're not going to mess with the core gameplay. It's not going to be something that players are like, this is not Clash. This is not something we're doing. It's still Clash, but we want to try more different things. And we want to keep doing that moving forward because we see that something keeps the games fresh. Players are always surprised, like the Controllable Heroes, for example. I think that was a nice surprise for everyone. And that's something that we like super different. We want like, okay, let's control the heroes. That's something that we've never done before. It's something I don't think anyone was expecting. And it's something that worked out really well, at least from our perspective and based on what we saw online, it was super well received. So our goal in 2025, this year, is keep doing different, new, experimental stuff that's fun for players.
It is definitely fun for players. I will 100% agree on that. I think always trying to mix up the gameplay so that it doesn't feel repetitive is important. Controllable Heroes event then, I do think that was fantastic, but I think it's really good to implement things like that as a limited time event so that you can test the waters a little bit as well. And then if there is something that, you know, you can push a little bit further and then you know whether the community likes it or not. Is that kind of the idea when it comes to bringing things as a limited time event?
It feels like you're reading our minds, Judo, because that's exactly the thing we're trying to do here. Because through a limited time event, it's easier, right, to try new things that are like might be controversial or might be weird. Because if it doesn't work, okay, it's gonna be over. We're not doing it anymore, or we're gonna like work on the feedback we received, try something different, instead of just applying to the main core elements of the game. Not to say that we will ever let players control heroes in their core gameplay, because that'll be way too messy for Clash. And we don't believe it's something that would be beneficial for players when it comes to their attack strategy and everything. But using events to try different things is 100% what we're aiming to do and keep doing throughout the year for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's very wise to do that. But picking up on that then, because this is very much just a casual conversation, we'll see where the discussion goes with regards to what's being added in 2025. But when it comes to the Controllable Heroes, you said there then that you have no plans to add it to Clash of Clans. And I agree. I think it would be very complicated. It would ruin the game, in my opinion, if it was added where you could control every hero. But when you say no plans, what was the aim of the event then? Was it literally just to bring something fresh, or there was no testing there?
The main goal was, yes, bring something fresh and something that I think it's completely unexpected for Clash of Clans and players, since you can't control your troops, you can't control anything. So I felt like bringing something that goes against that, that's something that no one would expect, is not part of the game, it's not something we could ever do, would be fun. Would be, if not fun, at least like worth trying, you know? Because again, now maybe we can do like different events and keep like changing things. Like we can have different elements or expand on the elements we tried this time with like the puzzle thing, like controlling your heroes, like all the stuff you can do. So our goal now is just like to expand on that and make it better, make it bigger. Now that we can do that, now we know that players enjoyed, we can keep doing it. But that was the main goal. We're never trying to do this to see if it work on the main core gameplay of the game. It was just like to give players something that's new, fresh, and unexpected.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because I think you could definitely bring this back, like you said, with not even just different levels, but maybe now that people know how to do it, you could have two heroes controllable in one of them where you can switch between different ones. The one thing I was thinking is, okay, I agree, I do not think it should be added to the game, especially not controlling all heroes. And even if you could just control one, I think all it would do is help the competitive players of the game who the game's too easy for them anyway. And if a casual felt left behind because they couldn't control the heroes, then I think you would just split the community even more when it comes to balance, and it wouldn't be good. But I did wonder, okay, are they maybe looking to implement this in a different way where you, fair enough, if you can control one hero, then there needs to be some sort of handicap. You don't even need to create a funnel. Whether it's a piece of equipment that allows you to, control your hero, but then that's locked to one hero. So then I was thinking maybe it's a pet that you could, but then pets really aren't that powerful. I feel like that pet would just break the game, being able to. So, yeah, anyway, any thoughts on that? Because that's what I was thinking you were maybe experimenting with, but I'm definitely not, thinking that that's a great idea. It's just where my mind was going when I first seen it.
Based on what we talked with the game designer and the people behind this, the goal is always just to give something extra and not like something that was just like a testing ground for something else we can do with the core gameplay of the game. For all the reasons you mentioned as well, and because, again, we don't want to make things too complex, too complicated, because I think that's when we start losing players as well. We know some people love things that are super complicated and hard and everything, but that's like the minority of the players, right? I think most players would just like to play, have fun, something like that. You don't have to think too much. Sure, you have to think, but not too much. Like, it's not like you're not taking a test. But that was the main goal. And again, I think with this Controllable Heroes event, it just like opened more doors for us to try new things that are separate from the core gameplay that are still fun. I'm just throwing this out here, and I'm not saying this is planned, but like, why not make like a co-op mode? You have one hero, someone else to play together, have another hero, and you make something like PvE, something like that, like the boss. So it opens doors. I'm not saying this is happening, just to make sure.
Wow,
but
Ferri.
It opens doors, So there are cool things we can do now with this. And I think that's the main goal here. That's something we wanted to do. Is something else for players, something extra. That's the main thing.
Each year for the last, I think, 6 years or something, I've made a video on my main channel. I might bring it to this channel. I might have already made it by the time this video comes out. But basically, every year for about the 6 years, I've made a video talking about what I would like to see in the game. And last year, I talked about 2v2, a co-op mode, quite heavily, and I think that would be phenomenal in the core gameplay as well, actually. But I do think before something like that was made, we would have to fix a lot of the core issues that the game has, because something like that has the potential, in my opinion, to blow Clash back up again. And you wouldn't want to release something like that if the core gameplay wasn't all fixed. Another thing I would love to see, which I've mentioned just about every year that I've done that video, is customized friendly wars. And that is somewhere where I think you could have controllable heroes, actually, because then it doesn't matter. You could have... You could make the battle 30 seconds or 10 minutes, like whatever you wanted. You could have however many troops you could take, just toggle it to allow us to take 1,000 troop capacity. It'd have to be something where it didn't break your servers or whatever. But yeah, just anything you can think of, we could do. Because I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, and that was always my favorite, just messing around in the custom settings, creating whatever game modes we wanted. And I'd love to see that for Clash. Whether it's a feature that would be used by a big enough pool of players that's worth the time investment doing, I don't know the answer to that question, probably not, but I would love to see it. And I think something like that is where we could see controllable heroes.
Yeah, and I love that. I love all those suggestions, and I think that's the good thing about us making these things. It all comes with their own complexity and everything, of course. We're trying to get to the point that we can be more experimental and try those things, like, as you said, give more control to the players as well, not just the heroes, but control to the players as well, to what they want to do. And I think that's great. And I think that's the direction we're heading here. And we'll see what the future has in store for us. But I love the suggestions, and hopefully we'll see more cool stuff this year.
Yeah, and I think that's super exciting because, like you said, controllable heroes went down very well. I think limited time events is exciting when you mix things up. We did touch upon there, with regards to co-op mode, I said a lot of the core issues I would like to see fixed, in my view, before something like that was added. Because obviously Clash has, used to be massive. A lot of people played the game in the past and, for different reasons, don't play it anymore. But there's definitely some common threads, such as upgrade times being a big one. And I believe that was part of what you were trying to fix last year with the implementation of superchargers. So are you able to touch upon a little bit of that? Any other maybe issues that you are looking to fix moving into 2025?
Yes. So yeah, upgrade time, we know that's one of the main ones, right? And we'll be doing like this time and cost cuts throughout the year. And we're going to keep doing that because we want to short the gap between Town Hall and between players, and that's one way to do it. So that's one thing that we're working on. We're going to keep working on 100%. But there are other core issues with the game, for gameplay issues that we need to fix. The game's old. Let's be honest. The game's old. A lot of the UI, a lot of UX, a lot of things that work in the game, they could be improved. They're not as good anymore. So, and that's something we're going to do this year. I can't spoil what, but you can expect a lot of the core things in the game that you interact with, that you use, are going to be upgraded. Going to have, and I'm not just talking about a new face is going to look prettier. No, it's going to work better. So looking at UI and UX, both of them, they're going to be better and they're going to look better. That ranges for everything. You can think about anything in the game that's core that you do today. Our goal is to improve those things, because we want Clash to be good all across the board. It's not just the gameplay when you're attacking someone or something like that. We want the whole experience. When you're I don't know, training, building stuff, when you're training your army, whatever you're doing, we're thinking of a lot of different things we can do here to improve and also remove some pain points. Not just improve, we want to remove some pain points that we have today. We have some things very spicy planned. I can't say that it's going to be a big change, but I think it's going to be a super positive change. And it is a pain point today for players, and we're going to do something about it. But just to give you a little more information on this, I won't say what it is, but it's the type of change that we're going to communicate in advance, because it is a big change. So we want to talk to players about it first before we do it. We learn their mistakes. So it's not going to be a surprise for everyone. We're going to talk about it before we do it, because we know this one is going to be a big change, and we want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're getting the feedback necessary before actually doing it. We don't want to ruin the experience for anyone.
Wow. You have certainly perked my interest.
Good.
I do like the idea of those big changes, though, because that's one thing that when we spoke in the Town Hall 17 video, and I mentioned, I feel like a few years ago, maybe the team wasn't really in a spot to take as many risks as you are right now. And I feel like that is necessary, especially in the current times, to make sure that the game is fresh and exciting and actually enjoyable at the same time as well. Like, yes, we all know you have, revenue goals and things like that, but the more people that can enjoy the game, then that's going to help drive more revenue anyway. Now, I know you said you're not ready to share, but there is some public information, the bits that you've already spoke about, so I'm going to prod a little bit because I know you have already talked about on Discord stages that the profile is definitely one area that you'd be looking at revamping. I think it definitely needs a revamp in terms of the achievements. We know that you're looking to implement emotes, which I think is another great idea, but even just more customization of the profile, I think is something that is very much needed and would help improve player experience massively. I think there's a lot of things that you have been doing, such as the clan chat, which I think are great improvements. One thing I mentioned in a recent video, actually, is the clan chat only takes up 25% of the screen. And if I'm engaging in the clan chat, I'd like to be able to just slide it along to take up the entire screen if I want. I think it would make a much more fluid chatting experience. And just little things like that, I think could go a long way for Clash of Clans. But it's exciting to hear that there's so many changes that you have planned. And one that I know Stuart mentioned in the AMA, which I am very much looking forward to, is he mentioned army training would be getting revamped. And I think now that we have so many equipment and pets, being able to add that to the quick train is definitely going to be very, very helpful. Yeah, no,
that's one of our goals for 2025, army training, as Stuart mentioning. There's a lot of issues with it. I think it's more than one. There are several issues with army training today. And we want to make things easier for players when training the army, when swapping armies, when choosing what armies they're going to use, when sharing their army as well. So it's a lot of things we're working on that front. And that's something we're working very hard to have it ready as soon as possible. But again, that's also a big change. Not just UX to make it work better, but it's going to look fresh as well. We're going to make it look super pretty. We're going to do that for sure. And it is something we're also going to be talking to everyone in advance, because it might take, I won't say take some time, but it's good to know what is being changed, how it's going to work. not letting you figure out things as soon as when it drops. I think it's cool for players to understand how it's going to work before it's available. So it is something we're going to be communicating in advance as well, because we want to be as open as we can with players, and it's something we've learned from our past mistakes as well. Instead of just like letting things be deployed before saying anything about them, which is really, really bad.
Yeah, no, I think the more heads up you can give people, the better, especially when it comes to big changes, so that they know what's coming, they can adapt. You can actually get feedback that might be critical in order to implement. Like, I still see to this day people saying, why is there a 24-hour cooldown on my base when I move things around? And that was because of the community, right? Like, the feature was actually released, friendly challenges, without that cooldown, and people were able to copy war bases and just figure out how to get a perfect war and 3-star the enemy. But now that's implemented because of the community. So it also gives you a little bit of, you know, just that wider look at things, if you will, because I'm not saying you're going to miss things, but there's certainly perspectives from the player's point of view that you might not appreciate until that's been shared in advance. So it might also allow you to actually implement things from the off better.
100%. And another reason as well is, since sometimes we can't do large scale tests. It is hard. We do have our tests with different small groups and everything, with you guys as well, of course. But it is hard if you want to test something in large scale. It's really hard for us to do it. So I think one way to do it, which is not the best one, of course, it is communicating in advance, trying to be as transparent as possible about the changes and get our feedback from that before we actually do it. I think that's one way for us to test if something would be well received. It's like it is what we expect it to be before we actually do it, is by communicating, since we can't have this large scale tests, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note, before we move on, I know you said you're going to make sure everything looks pretty and everything like that. This is kind of a selfish request, and this is a first world problem, but I think with the new hero hall, it looks fantastic. But on like my iPad, it only takes up half the screen. So again, it's kind of similar to the clan chat, right? And I know it's probably more to make it accessible across a lot of devices, but maybe some of the more common devices that are like larger screens, you could have like a slightly different aspect ratio for things. I don't know whether that might be way more complicated than what it is. Like, I'm making it sound simple, but just, I think for common devices, maybe things could be scaled to take up more of the screen and therefore might look a bit better.
Yeah, no, that's, as you said, I think it's more just like a small percentage of players maybe, but it's something that is really cool. And I think it's super important because we do have some players who play on PC as well, right? Because it is possible as well. So I think being able to scale depending on the device, I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure the work behind it to make it happen. If it's something that takes a lot of work, or maybe something that doesn't, it's something that if we give the feedback to the team, maybe it's something they can actually do it. So I promise you that I pass the feedback along and check with the team if it's something too complicated or not, and I'll let you know, because if it's not, I would love that as well, because I play on iPad all the time as well, the bigger screen. So I think it'd be really cool for you to be able to see those things a bit bigger than they are on the mobile, of course.
Yeah, because I think you might be right there in terms of the PC, because I think it was just before the Google Play release where a lot of this changed, because on the iPad, you used to, when you opened the army screen or your profile or anything, it would actually take up the entire screen. And it was just before the Google Play launch where that changed, and now it has like a pop-up box, but you're not looking on the outside, if you will. So it's just not actually taking up the real estate of the screen that it should, in my view. But yeah, I think it was before the Google Play thing when that all changed. But anyways, very small thing that doesn't need to take up any more time in this video. You obviously mentioned you're not going to be sharing too much, but there was something mentioned in the Inside the Builder Hut episode, the previous one, which you do a very good job of, by the way. But you mentioned, I can't remember if it was yourself or someone you were interviewing, but you said there hadn't been a new social feature added to the game since clan games, and you had something in store for 2025. Are you able to share more insights or expand on it, or?
I can say that it's coming in 2025, hopefully on the second or third quarter of the year.
Okay.
Not the first one. That one is for sure, not the first one. But it is already being worked on. It's not something that is still being decided, something like that. It is happening. It's going to be something related to clans and not like events are just like it is not very, it's 100% just like your own performance, your own things you're doing and everything like that. And we want something that's clan, that works across the entire clan. And that's something that we're going to do for next year. Again, the idea is just to make another event. You're going to get like rewards, you're going to progress, or things going to be more fun, depending on your clan, of course. And it is clan exclusive. So it's not something, if you don't have a clan, unfortunately, you cannot participate, like clan games and things like that. So you're going to have to be in a clan, but it is going to be worth it because it's going to be something new, something fun. You're going to have rewards and all that. And hopefully be like a healthy competition amongst clans as well. So we'll see how that's going to go. But it should be super fun, and I think it's going to be well received as well, because I think we need more of those like social events, social features inside of Clash of Clans, for our Clash of Clans. So I think we need to double down on the clans part of the thing.
Interesting. Yeah, that all sounds great. I guess the one thing that I would add caution with, not to be a party pooper or anything, but it's obviously the amount of things that people have to do in the game. And as that expands, then that can turn into like more grind that people have to do, right? So as long as it doesn't feel grindy, and I guess even clan games, like it is a clan thing, but it is very much done by yourself sort of thing.
Yeah.
So be interested to see what it is that, you come up with, and how it integrates alongside everything else that we have going on.
That's a good point. We're not going to do anything that's going to just like another event. It's like more grind you have to do. So just like grind on top of grind, or like event on top of event. We want to, do things spread out in a way that's healthy as well. So it doesn't feel like you have to like do that, like be there playing all the time, otherwise you're going to miss out on it. We just want to have more variety when it comes to events and things you can do in the game. We're not going to make it in a way that it feels like you have to do them or everything's happening at the same time. You're going to have to do clan games at the same time. You have to do like meta event, have to do the clan event. Like we don't want that to happen, because I think that'll be too much. And it's also something we got from feedback from back when we did the Holland collaboration. There was a point where we saw like players were like, there's just too much going on. Like it felt a bit overwhelming. It's not something we want to do. So thank you for the feedback. That is definitely something we're trying to avoid this new social feature for sure.
Well, that's good. I think people will be relieved to hear that as well. And also, thank you for sharing a little bit of a timeline in terms of expectation. I'm guessing, the last quarter of the year is designated to a town hall now moving forward, because it has been said it's, every 12 months or so that you're looking to bring a new town hall. So moving to Town Hall 17 a little bit, obviously we had a full video about this, but I guess I never asked you about the lifespan of Town Hall 17 across 2025, because Stuart had mentioned in his AMA that you wanted to shake up the meta at each town hall. So what is the goal of not just initially of Town Hall 17, but what do you see the goal being across the lifespan of Town Hall 17? And do you have things that you are going to try and shake up the meta along the way before we get Town Hall 18?
I think the main goal for us was, as we said, try to make it the meta fun to play and not too hard, and allow players from multiple strategies. That's one of the main goals with the Hall 17. And again, we know about Eager Artillery and everything, but that was part of our decision to shake things up a bit and make things different. We had to make some bold decisions, and that was part of it. And that's something, not to say that we're gonna like for Town Hall 17, its lifespan, we're gonna like make more controversial changes like this, mergers like this. But the goal is to keep doing what we did with the start of Town Hall 17. And I think, at least from my side, it's a little bit hard to say how much is gonna change throughout the year for Town Hall 17. But as long as we keeping the meta fun, diverse, and not overly complicated, then we're doing what we're achieving what we wanted to achieve. There's still a lot more to come, of course, for Town Hall 17. So hopefully we're not gonna go out of our paths when it comes to this. But again, I'm sorry I don't have a lot of information about that yet, but we'll see how it's gonna go.
I mean, I think the diversity of strategies is the main thing. It's never fun when there's just one strategy that you have to learn. It becomes repetitive, but I think having that diversity is good. And like you said, along the lifespan, there will be new, even if there's not a new troop or anything, there is new troop levels, there's new defense levels. So even in that, plus alongside balance changes, there can be, adjustments to the meta as you go along anyway. And I think I might have lost you.
Because I'm out of there.
Well, to be honest, I was going to keep this one relatively short. The only other thing I was going to ask you after the lifespan of Town Hall 17 was whether there was anything else you wanted to share. Moving on to, the next update in February.
I don't think so. Yeah, hopefully the next update will be in February. We're trying to keep the same cadence of updates. So yeah, but there might be some extra updates along the year compared to the previous year. Oh. But yeah, I guess just wait for February. Yeah, because we're going to have a lot of stuff happening in the first quarter of the year, and it should be very exciting.
Okay, well, that is something fantastic for people to look forward to. Lots happening in the first quarter and more updates. Interesting. I see you're back as well, just to say goodbye.
I keep losing. Sorry, my battery is really bad right now, so the notebook's trying to survive. But yeah, no, just want to thank you, Judo, as always. And it's always a pleasure. And if we're going to do this again, just let me know. You're more than glad to join and answer your questions, the community questions, anyone's questions.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. I will probably take you up on that, grab some questions from my community as well. And yeah, we can certainly do this later down the line as well. But thank you for taking your time. I'll let you get away before your battery ends. And again, really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do want to see our discussion about Town Hall 17, I will link that video on your screen. Enjoy the rest of your day.